There are some things that I'm glad that they exist, right? I'm glad they exist in some cases because they protect us, Clay. They play an important role in our lives in Western civilization. You know, I'm happy we have a Constitution. But in a very different way, there are things that exist, and I'm just happy they exist because it gives us something to talk about on the radio show, right? So there are important things that I am thankful for, and family, the Constitution, God, country. And then there are the things you're like, it's a little extra bonus. The View, I'm starting to think, might actually have been created by conservatives in the background who wanted to make sure that conservative media had plenty to dive into at any given day, and a bit of comedic relief, right? Because those ladies, they'll talk about, the best way to roast a chicken or something, right? Don't they do some of that?
They do it's a general interest show.
Right, general interest show.
Joy Behar is generally dumb about all subjects of interest. I would argue maybe the dumbest person in all of media. All right?
That's bold. That's bold talk, Travis.
If she's not the dumbest person in all of media, she is the most inarticulate person in all of media because she consistently says the dumbest things. I mean, I would put her up there with Joy Reid, the duos of the Joy. Joy Reid and Joy Behar, probably the two dumbest people in media based on what I see them say. It's not like I watch their shows regularly, but I just see their opinions circulating, and I think to myself, how can you be this dumb? So to set this clip up, they are discussing Ukraine. And remember, they just suspended Whoopi Goldberg a couple weeks ago on a show that's called The View, which is ironic because her view was that race was not involved in any of the Nazi-related atrocities that were committed. So that was an inappropriate and obviously ignorant and incredibly dumb opinion to have. So they suspended her for 2 weeks. And Whoopi Goldberg might be the smartest person on this show. So that kind of puts into perspective. I think Joy Behar is the dumbest. They're having a conversation, as I'm sure you were very excited to know, about Ukraine and what they thought about Ukraine. Is it Sunny Hostin? Is she one of the hosts? I don't even know one of the host names.
She's the one with the law degree.
She's the one who's starting off here talking about Ukraine and Putin. And then Joy Behar decides to build, and the conversation, well, just listen.
Estimates are 50,000 Ukrainians will be dead or wounded, and that this is going to start a humanitarian crisis, a refugee crisis in Europe. We're talking about 5 million people that are going to be displaced. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear what is going to happen.
Well, I'm scared of what's going to happen in Western Europe, too. You know, you plan a trip, you want to go there. I want to go to Italy for 4 years. I haven't been able to make it because of the pandemic. And now this, it's like, what's going to happen there?
Can I just, for a second? I mean, look, Sunny Hostin, to her credit, she's speaking about this in the tone and with the seriousness that it deserves.
And accurate.
And accurate. And then it just takes it's like the car gets driven right off the cliff by Joy Behar with, I know it's terrible. I haven't been able to go to the Amalfi Coast and have fresh-made pasta in years. How am I even going to know if my margarita pie is as delicious there? I mean, Clay, I don't know. You wonder what
these are scripted shows. I mean, for people out there who haven't done television, they say, hey, in this topic, we're going to discuss Ukraine, right? It's not like you sit down. For people out there who might not understand, television is like a play. It's somewhat scripted. I've done daily television for years. Hey, in this part of the show, we're going to talk, I do sports. Hey, we're going to talk about whether Tom Brady's going to retire or not. It's not like you just sit down. Radio's a little bit less scripted, right? We can talk about during the breaks, like, hey, we're going to go to this direction. But so they knew they were talking about Ukraine, and Joy Behar jumps right in, right? Sunny Hostin's making points about the seriousness of the issue and everything else. And she immediately says, I'm worried about what this is essentially going to do to my vacation to Italy. Like, that's her response, and it's tone deaf in a way where she's a comedian. She could at least make fun of herself and how little she understands about the situation, or how focused she is on only how it could impact her. and be a little bit self-aware. But no, the immediate direction she takes a discussion on Ukraine is how is it going to impact her trip to Italy, which she hasn't been able to take in 4 years.
Like I said, I am at some level thankful that The View exists so that we.
She makes how much money do you think she makes a year, Buck?
I mean, people talk about these things that it's definitely millions. I'd say probably $4 or $5 million a year.
She's been doing that show a long time, right?
Yeah, she makes $4 or $5 million a year to sit there and just be like, I mean, my trip to Italy, what's gonna happen to it?
Is she the most? She's obviously, in my opinion, not obviously, in my opinion, she is the dumbest person on. There are other people who
That's
would be
a
in
really
the running.
Bobby Clay. We might have to fight that one out a little bit. There's a lot of contenders for the dumbest liberal. The dumbest leftist, or just dumbest person, period, in
I
the
think just dumbest
commentary
person.
media.
You could be broad in media, and it could also include sports media because there's some really dumb people in sports media, maybe even dumber because they don't even have to talk about Ukraine.
I did see you tell Keith Olbermann to take his meds on Twitter, Clay, and I have to say, I think you were trying to be helpful because that guy needs help. He needs help.
God. But the Joy Behar making $5 million a year is, in addition to the fact that she's dumb, maybe the highest overpay in history. Like, who is paying Joy? Let's say Joy Behar's making $5 million a year, okay? Who's paying Joy Behar $4 million a year?
What do you think?
Who's paying her $2 million?